They fired me the day before bonus day. I didn't argue. I just smiled like I was already holding the knife. Friday morning. The office was buzzing like every end-of-quarter Friday. Over-caffeinated interns, salespeople pretending to look busy, and Logan Sharp pacing around like he owned the air we breathed. He didn't even look me in the eye when HR handed me the termination letter. Just a slight nod, like someone pressing send on an email and forgetting it existed 5 seconds later. The document was printed on heavy paper, which I found amusing. When you're about to gut someone, might as well use quality stationery. No explanation. No exit interview. Just a formal note stating my services were no longer required, effective immediately, and security would escort me out after I cleared my desk. Standard corporate assassination. Amber, the sysadmin I once helped cover during a vulnerability breach, looked like she was about to say something as I passed her terminal. I shook my head. She blinked twice, our silent code for don't. HR might be watching the hallway feed. The silence in my corner office was loud. I sat for exactly 6 minutes, letting my eyes travel over the skyline. Chicago in September always had a way of faking warmth, like the people in this building. The framed plaque on the wall, Risk Compliance Division, exceeds targets. Q3 2023 had my name etched dead center. The same Q3 that was set to close tonight. The same one they thought I wouldn't get a dime from. Logan forgot something. The contract I signed 3 years ago had a rider, buried in dense legalese in a version only I and my attorney had the original of, triggering a 10% net profit entitlement if I was terminated without cause within 7 days of quarterly close. They thought they'd buried it. They didn't know I still had the first draft. I logged into my personal backup drive through a secure hotspot. The contract copy was there, signed, time-stamped, metadata intact. I made 5 duplicates, 1 local, 1 on a drive, 3 encrypted and sent to cold storage email vaults I'd created for exactly this kind of betrayal. At 11:12 a.m., I slid my badge across the exit scanner. Security didn't even escort me. I must not have looked dangerous enough in a pressed shirt and tailored jacket. Outside, the sky turned steel gray, a fitting tone. I watched Logan through the glass wall on the 18th floor, laughing with the CFO, probably planning how to split my bonus between them. Let them laugh. In the Uber, I made the first call, not to my lawyer, not to the press. I called Noah Travis. He picked up before the second ring. Cole? They cut me. Jesus, that clause still holds? They don't remember it. Noah exhaled like he was smiling. Then they've already lost. By the time the Uber pulled up in front of my apartment, I had 3 tabs open. 1 for the Delaware corporate filing portal, 1 for my encrypted document vault, and 1 blank email with the subject line already typed. Request for immediate review of profit clause violation, Section 12B. But I didn't hit send. Not yet. First, I needed to know how deep this went. Jared, the junior compliance guy they pushed out last quarter, he'd hinted at cooked numbers and quiet payout reallocations before they shut him up. I hadn't believed him then. I believed him now. Amber, too. She owed me one. If she still had admin access to the internal audit system, I could pull enough metadata to see when the internal Q3 bonus allocations were modified, and by whom. And Logan. Logan would slip. He always did when he felt untouchable. I wasn't going to knock politely. I was going to build a case they couldn't close with money or silence. The only question now was, how many of them were in on it? Quick question. Would you risk your job to expose the truth? Comment yes or no. Sometimes betrayal isn't loud. It shows up in silence, in deleted emails, in calendar invites that never included your name. The apartment was cold when I got back, not because of the air, but because something inside me had shifted. I wasn't mourning. I wasn't even angry. I was sorting, calculating. The first thing I did was pull every piece of the paper trail I'd left behind. Over the past 6 months, I'd quietly BCC'd myself on every major decision involving Q3 operations, emails to finance, approval threads from Logan, version history of the risk models we built for the expansion. They'd tried to bury me with paperwork. I would turn that same pile into their tomb. By Sunday evening, I had a clear pattern. The bonus pool allocations had been modified just 2 days before I was fired. The system logs would show who did it and when. The only problem? I no longer had access. So I texted Amber, just a single message. Need 24 hours of log access. Tier Dre. Quiet. She responded with just a period, our code for yes. Within 30 minutes, a secure SSH tunnel blinked to life on my laptop. It wasn't flashy. It didn't need to be. She gave me a read-only window into the back end where I could watch every ghost of an edit that passed through the system. At 1:13 a.m., I found it. Logan's account had pushed a new file into the bonus projection folder on September 14th, 1 day before my termination. The file was named Q3 Final Rev C. On the surface, it looked like a harmless reforecast. But the metadata told a different story. It had been copied from Rev B. Then the performance figures for risk compliance, my department, were shifted down by 11.3%, enough to kill bonus eligibility. Then, that document was used in the board packet presented the next day. They rewrote history, then fired the only guy who could contradict it. I exhaled. The weight of it wasn't in the betrayal. It was in the simplicity. They didn't even need a complex cover-up, just a few tweaks in a spreadsheet, and I was erased. I saved every trace. Timestamps, IP addresses, file hashes. Amber confirmed what I suspected. Logan didn't even do it from his own terminal. He used a proxy ID, one they usually reserved for vendor sandboxing. That meant he was trying to hide it from the IT audit trail. Sloppy. At noon the next day, Noah called. Got your packet. That clause? It's airtight. Will it hold in court? It won't need to. They'll settle the second they see the attachments. But I don't want a settlement, I said. I want them to bleed. Just a little. Enough to remember. He paused. Then we build it airtight. Start with the letter. Demand 10% profit share under Clause 12. B. Back it up with metadata. Let them panic first. Then we'll give them a list of files they didn't know we had. I smiled. Not because it was working, but because it was only just beginning. That afternoon, I left the apartment for the first time since Friday and met someone I hadn't seen in months. Jared. He was thinner, eyes twitchier, like someone who knew he'd escaped something bad, but still heard it breathing behind him. I told you they were shifting numbers, he said, sipping bitter coffee from a cracked ceramic mug. They didn't just cut you out, they faked performance. You kept anything? He pulled out a USB stick. I kept everything. Just in case. He looked around the cafe, then leaned in. They're prepping for Q4 IPO adjustments. You weren't just collateral, Cole. You were a risk they couldn't let speak. That was the moment everything clicked. This wasn't just about me. This was about timing. About what I knew and when I was no longer useful. And it meant the next step wasn't legal. It was strategic. They'd started this in silence. I was going to answer in full volume. They thought I'd be gone by now. They thought wrong. They thought I had nothing. They forgot I taught the team how to hide everything in plain sight. The morning Jared handed me the USB, I cleared my schedule for the week. Not that I had one. My calendar was now a battlefield. Every hour needed to serve a tactical purpose. I didn't need revenge. I needed precision. The drive wasn't encrypted, which worried me. But inside were folders labeled Rev Logs, Q3 Gaps, and one simply named Hell. That one held screenshots of emails between Logan and the CFO, Blake Tarrin, discussing Q3 margin manipulation and rebalancing performance optics. No one uses that language unless they're doing something dirty. The emails weren't forwarded. They were screen captures from an internal tool. That meant Jared had grabbed them before IT wiped his access. He'd been smarter than I gave him credit for. I cross-referenced the dates with Amber's metadata logs. They matched perfectly. Time, user ID, modification events. The scheme was simple, elegant in a way only corporate theft could be. They shifted my department's bonus-worthy metrics to a preliminary column, marked them as error-prone, then excluded those values from the final financials. I looped Noah in via secure share. He took less than an hour to respond. "This isn't just wrongful termination," he said. "This is accounting fraud. They filed this with the board, maybe even the SEC. Can we prove it?" I just did. His email came with a legal draft, 10 pages, clean, brutal, annotated. The kind of letter you don't send to threaten. You send it to announce war. I still didn't send it. Instead, I made a different move. I uploaded the signed contract, my copy with the 10% clause, to a blockchain notarization service. Time-stamped, public, immutable. Then I shared it quietly with 3 people: Amber, Jared, and a journalist named Marla Burns. She didn't write tabloid fluff. She specialized in forensic finance. And she owed me a favor from the time I killed a story that would have gotten her sued by a hedge fund. "I'm not asking you to publish," I told her on the call. "I'm asking you to look. If this smells like something bigger than a bonus dispute, you'll know." She paused. "You realize this goes beyond corporate sabotage, right?" "I do. That means you're ready for blowback." "I've been ready since they pushed me out the door." And then, as if summoned by the ripple, I got the first bite. An unsigned email, plain text, no greeting. "Take your settlement and walk. You go public. We'll bury you." It didn't scare me. It told me they'd started to sweat, which meant they'd make a mistake soon. And when they did, I'd be there, watching. I don't strike first. But when I do, they know exactly what they just lost. Logan's world was built on assumptions. That people like me don't read contracts, don't have backups, don't know how to wait. And that morning, I took great pleasure in showing him just how wrong he was. The letter Noah drafted was a masterpiece. Precise legal citations, attached metadata, timeline cross-matched with the original contract. The subject line alone would be enough to make a compliance officer drop their coffee. Immediate review. Profit clause breach. Section 12. B. Enclosed evidence. We didn't send it to HR. That would have been amateur. We sent it to the executive committee. Director. Marked time sensitive. Legal escalation pending. The email was logged at 9:01 a.m. Logan opened it at 9:07 a.m. during the weekly ops sync, in a room with 5 other executives. Amber told me he froze, said his hand stopped mid-air over the touchscreen. He read the first paragraph twice, then skipped to the exhibits. When he got to the part where we quoted the original metadata chain, along with his fake Rev.C file, his face changed. Amber said it looked like he'd seen a ghost. But here's what made me smile. He didn't get up. He didn't protest. He laughed. That smug, brittle laugh people use when they're cornered, but still believe they have options. He told the others, "Don't worry. Just Cole being theatrical. He won't go to court. He needs money." Wrong on both counts. The truth was, I didn't need them to admit anything. I just needed them to panic. Because when people like Logan panic, they clean up in all the wrong places. And that's where you find the gold. By midday, Amber pinged me from her personal account. "Security's running internal trace on file movement logs. Logan ordered it personally." They were looking for the leak, and that meant they didn't know how deep we'd already gone. I called Jared. "Time to move up the next phase." He sounded nervous. "You sure?" Yes. And be ready. They'll try to discredit me next. At 3:15 p.m., Logan called me. I let it ring once, then declined. He sent a text instead. We should talk. Man to man. No lawyers. I stared at the message. Logan never spoke man to man. Everything was leverage and stagecraft with him. So I replied with a screenshot, not of the metadata, but of the company's Q4 IPO projection document, with his personal notes in the margins, pulled from the version control system Amber still had access to. 5 minutes later, Amber called. He knows it's you. I know. Should I back off? Number let him squirm. The walls were closing in, and he felt it. And he still had no idea. The next blow was already loaded. You don't need to win every move. You just need to make the next one inevitable. 2 days after the letter went out, silence took over the building like a gas leak. Colorless, odorless, but deadly. Logan wasn't answering internal pings. Amber said he'd started showing up late, leaving early, delegating everything with vague instructions. That's when I knew the pressure was working. At 9:43 a.m., I walked into the downtown office of Sutter and Lane, LLP, Noah's firm. The conference room already had the war table set, printed copies of the contract, chain of custody logs, screenshots of altered bonus models, and Jared sitting nervously in a blue tie that didn't quite fit his collar. Noah stood at the head of the table like a general. Calm, precise. Final review before we push, he said. We walked through the escalation package. This wasn't about demand anymore. It was about notification of breach, intent to pursue damages, and formal evidence submission to the SEC. It included Jared's testimony, Amber's logs, and the financial discrepancy traceable through audit trails Logan had tried to overwrite. Jared flinched when he saw his name in the testimony draft. You okay putting this on paper? He nodded, hesitant. They burned me for telling the truth. Might as well finish the story. At noon, the first counterpunch arrived. A press leak, anonymous, claiming I'd fabricated bonus clauses, attempted to blackmail the company, and was under informal review for misconduct in Q2 compliance. It was sloppy. No sourcing, no quotes, just innuendo and smoke. I smiled. They moved too early. That afternoon, I met Marla at a quiet rooftop bar she favored for interviews that weren't supposed to exist. She held up a folder. They tried to pitch this to me an hour before you showed up. They really thought you'd run it. They thought I'd blink. They don't know I'm already halfway through an article titled Silencing the Whistle. I leaned in. You ready to publish? When you give me your final timestamp. So I did. At 5:37 p.m., I uploaded the full set of files to an encrypted journalistic relay. The hash key was unique, the content authenticated, and mirrored across 3 regions. Marla had everything she needed, and so did the SEC. At 6:10 p.m., Logan called again. This time, I picked up. You made your point, he said, tight and bitter. You want the 10%? Done. We'll wire it tonight. No NDA, I'm not here for money anymore. You think you'll survive this? You're making enemies you can't see. I paused. No, Logan. I see you just fine. He hung up. By nightfall, Noah forwarded me the company's legal reply. Acknowledgement of contract clause validity. Acceptance of liability. Offer to settle. I didn't respond. Let them wait. Let them panic a little more. Because I wasn't finished. The final move wasn't mine. It was theirs. And I was about to make sure it hit them in the face. So, was it too much? Or exactly what they deserved? Drop your thoughts below. It's not revenge if they see it coming. It's just correction. Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp, the story broke. Whistleblower reveals bonus fraud ahead of IPO, internal tampering, executive silence, SEC triggered. Marla didn't hold back. She cited timestamps, She referenced document hashes. She even included excerpts of internal communications, the ones Jared had kept in his folder labeled hell. The article ended with a single question. What happens when a company lies to shareholders, then fires the one man who knew the truth? The boardroom imploded before lunchtime. Amber messaged me just 2 words. It hit. By 9:22 a.m., the SEC's official Twitter page posted that a formal inquiry into regulatory compliance and bonus manipulation at Valerix Corp was underway. At 10:03 a.m., Logan Sharp resigned. Not stepped aside, not took leave. He resigned. The press release said he wanted to pursue new ventures. The board's tone was as cold as a body bag. I watched it happen from the quiet corner of a coffee shop 2 blocks from their HQ. My phone buzzed every 3 minutes. Noah with legal updates, Jared in disbelief, Marla forwarding calls from reporters. I didn't answer most of them. I didn't need to. At noon, Noah sent a final secured message. Funds wired, full clause honored, no NDA enforced. You win. But it wasn't about the money. It never had been. What they tried to take wasn't a bonus. It was my name, my record. The idea that you can build something clean and still be discarded because someone else wants a better slide deck for investors. They underestimated the quiet guy. They underestimated the one who read everything, who remembered every date, kept every draft, and knew that silence wasn't the end. It was just the opening move. Logan would disappear for a while, probably resurface in 6 months with a different title, a cleaner LinkedIn bio, and a vague consulting firm no one had heard of. But his name would always carry the stain. And mine? I walked away with more than 10%. I walked away with control. Control over my story. Control over what they couldn't rewrite. And when I stepped out of that coffee shop, Chicago's wind didn't bite the same way. It felt like breath. The first clean one in a long, long time. Betrayal may strike in silence, but truth always returns with thunder. When lies unraveled and masks fell, justice didn't knock. It broke the door. This wasn't just about bonuses or contracts. It was about reclaiming dignity one step at a time. When injustice is met with unwavering courage, the final verdict can echo through a lifetime. Sometimes, it takes losing everything to realize the one thing they can never steal: your will to rise. Thanks for watching. And to them, if you're seeing this, I'm not done yet.